Hello, Australia and other countries. Anyways, so the 2022 season came to an end 5-6 months ago. Geelong came out on top because, greatest team of all that shit that we usually talk about. Anyways, today we're going to do our 2023 AFL predictions. This will include the ladder, the final series, Brownlow, Coleman, Norman Smith, and the Rising Star. We've written our answers of what we think is going to happen, and we're going to share it with the camera and each other because we have no idea what each other wrote.
True.
Starting off, at number 18, I have the West Coast Eagles.
Really?
Yep, absolutely. They are going to get the wooden spoon. They have to.
You don't think last year was kind of they got fucked on because of injuries and shit, so...
But the players are still injured.
You reckon?
They're all still injured.
Yeah? All right.
Obviously they're getting older. West Coast is going down.
Fair.
What do you have?
I have GWS Giants, actually. Yeah. After losing, who was it? Taranto, fucking Hopper.
True.
They pretty much only have Toby Green, and he gets suspended all the fucking time. So.
And they traded half the army away for that Aaron Caden guy.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I don't know why they wanted that number one draft pick so bad, but they got him.
Yeah. So.
Hopefully it's not a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Horne-Francis was for North Melbourne last year, so let's see how they go this year.
True. But North Melbourne made up with that. They obviously got some other draft picks and stuff like that, so...
True.
Not too bad for North.
Yeah.
For 17th, surprisingly, I've got Gold Coast.
Really? You think they're going to drop that hard?
Gold Coast did some questionable things during the off-season.
Yeah?
Okay, get this. All right. They traded one of their best players and their round one draft pick for a future third-round draft pick.
That is pretty bad. Was it Rankin that they got rid of for Adelaide? Is that who you were...
They got rid of Rankin, but they also got rid of it was a player they gave to Geelong.
Oh, really?
It was Jed something or other.
Oh, okay.
And they also gave Geelong a round one draft pick. That's how we got Jai Clark.
Jesus.
Gold Coast did some really stupid things.
Questionable things.
And I really feel bad for who's the guy who was Brownlow contention last year for Gold Coast?
Tuke Miller?
Tuke Miller. I feel so bad for him. He's going to have to change clubs. Seriously.
He's just so good and his team isn't. I have Hawthorn Hawks for the 17th position because they just lost so many players. Lost Tom Mitchell, lost Gunston. I think they lost Jaeger O'Meara as well. So basically they're just kind of... What chance do they possibly have, to be honest?
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
I must admit. It's actually funny you say that because I got Hawthorn for 16.
Yeah?
For all those reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely understandable. I just don't see them doing well this year. So for me, I have 16th for North Melbourne. I think they're going to get off the bottom for once because of Clarko and shit like that.
They have nowhere else to go but up.
Pretty much, and can't just keep seeing them lose all the fucking time because it's depressing.
True. Obviously, they've got all those draft picks and shit. Surely they've got to make something out of it.
Hopefully.
Clarkson will probably do something.
You'd think so. It may take them a few years to actually do something of worth, but yeah.
For 15th, I have GWS. For all those reasons we listed earlier. They've got nowhere to go but down, honestly.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going to do too well this year.
Probably not.
Yeah, I've got Essendon Bombers, to be honest. I don't think they're going to do too well. They've got Tipping Woody back, which could help them out in the forward line. That's pretty much it. I don't really see them doing that well anyways.
They got Brad Scott and all that.
True. I didn't actually think of that when I was doing my list, so maybe that could bump them up a little bit, give them that kind of, honeymoon kind of thing.
But that being said, though, Brad Scott was never a great coach.
True. Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah.
What are we on, 14?
14.
North Melbourne.
North Melbourne, wow. Yep. Big jump for them.
I think they're going to go up.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to be anywhere near finals contention.
Yeah.
But the list that they have, and obviously the coach they have now, I can't see them being a bottom four side.
Fair.
But it is North Melbourne, and they know how to disappoint, so you never fucking know.
Exactly.
Who do you have?
14th, I have West Coast Eagles. Again, I didn't think that they'd do too well, but I thought they were better than 17. They came 17th last year. I think they're going to do a little bit better this year because, again, I thought some of their injuries are going to be fixing up and maybe Dom Sheed will be able to, not be so shit, or I don't know. I feel like they're going to do a little bit better than last year.
Well, you never know with West Coast, to be honest.
True.
I see them winning the spoon, but It's all just guesses, isn't it?
That's it. Like, there's just predictions. Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
13. This one's going to really piss you off.
Yeah?
I have the Western Bulldogs.
Really?
Yep. No,
Shit.
last season, Western Bulldogs disappointed me.
Yeah?
And I saw the club kind of falling apart. And even in the off-season, they don't really do much.
You don't think? I think we did pretty well. I thought, we finally got a decent defense. I feel like we've got a chance. I feel like,
They got that guy from Fremantle, but to do that, they had to trade, was it Dunkley?
We lost Dunkley, yeah, that's for sure. But our midfield's already pretty...
That is true. You do have a good midfield.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but Western Bulldogs is a very up and down side.
Yeah.
And they never sort of just, stay up high. When they start going down, they go down, and they come back up again later on.
Yeah.
So they'll be back in a few years.
Yeah, so you really think we're going to drop down to 13?
I do.
That's crazy. For me, I have St Kilda Saints, my dad's team. Again, I just think that their list is not very good. Who's their best player? Jack Steele, and that's pretty much it. Like, they don't have two ruckmen anymore, and I think Ryder retired. So I just don't see Saints doing anything.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Pretty sure I've got St Kilda as number 12. I do.
Yeah.
For all those reasons.
Fair.
Yes, they've got Ross Lyon back, and he was a notoriously good coach for St Kilda.
True.
But that'll take time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I agree with your placing on 13th.
Yeah. For 12th, I have Adelaide Crows. I feel like they will jump up a little bit. I think they were 14th or something last year. I think their list is actually pretty decent. It's not a contender list, but it's slowly getting there. Rory Laird's ridiculous.
They got ranking.
True, they did get ranking. So I feel like they're slowly on the rise after that ridiculous camp and what happened in 2017. So,
The old notorious. What are we on now? 11?
11.
Yeah, Adelaide.
Adelaide.
I've got Adelaide for 11.
We're almost chasing each other in a way.
My positioning for Adelaide was difficult, and I had the same issue with Port Adelaide as well.
Yeah.
I can't see them being contenders, but I can't see them being bottom sides.
Yeah.
So I sort of placed them both around this mark, just 'cause I didn't know where else to put them.
That's it.
To be honest.
Fucking South Australia, mate. I have Gold Coast Suns at 11. I feel like they're going to be very, very close to that cusp of hitting the top 8. But again, I just feel like they're missing just something. Like, if Matt Rowell gets injured again, which he almost does every single season, he hasn't been looking good since he's been injured so many times. Tuke Miller can only carry so fucking hard. They're a good team. They're going to be getting Ben King back this year as well. So that could help out their forward line. But I don't know. They're just...
Yeah, Gold Coast is...
They're Gold Coast.
Yeah.
What more needs to be said?
I do agree. They've got massive star power, they do.
Yeah.
But it's Gold Coast.
Exactly.
Exactly.
What's their defense? Do they have a defense? They have a really pretty good midfield. They have a decent attack.
Tell you the truth, I can't really name any of their players except for obviously Miller, and I forgot his name earlier.
Yeah, Miller, Rowell, King. That's pretty much all I can think of. Shit.
Number 10?
Number 10.
Port Adelaide. Same logic as Adelaide. Only Port Adelaide's a bit different in the sense that Ken Hinkley has something to prove this year, and his job's sort of on the line. And when that happens to coaches, they notoriously come out of nowhere and win premierships. Happened with Mark Thompson. Happened with
Mark Williams.
Happened to fucking Damien Hardwick as well.
True, actually.
They come out of nowhere and they just win premierships.
Yeah.
So Port Adelaide could be a dark horse, but because I didn't know where to place them, I put them in 10th. But if they do make the finals, I wouldn't be surprised.
True. They also did just get Jason Horn-Francis, so if he decides to pop off...
And Rioli. They got Rioli
True, they
as well.
did get Rioli as well. So maybe there's a chance for Port. I do actually have them a little bit up, but for now on 10th, I've got Fremantle Dockers. I actually feel like after losing as many players as they did, they lost Lobb, they lost... Who else did they lose? Akers, I think. They've lost a few really good players for their team. I feel like Fife is nowhere near as good as he used to be. They do have Brayshaw being as ridiculous as he is. But yeah, I don't know about fucking Dockers, man.
Yeah, I agree. They did get O'Meara and they did get
True.
Rising Star a couple of years ago from Melbourne.
That fucking what's his name? I forget his name. He was a really good player. I can't remember
So you never know if Fremantle.
Yeah.
But for the reasons that you just listed, I've actually got Fremantle on ninth.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty close.
All those middle teams that you expect to be in the middle, we've sort of like seeing eye on here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So who do you have ninth?
For ninth, I have Port Adelaide Power.
Ah.
Yeah, so again...
And ninth in terms of traded.
Very, very similar. Again, just like we said, I feel like Hinkley, he might be able to do some magic here for I feel like he's going to be his last season. Again, Jason Horne-Francis, Rioli. I think Robbie Gray's retired, so that kind of sucks for their clutch power. They still have Boak. They still have some good players. It's just... I don't know about him, man. I don't know about him.
Yeah, Fremantle, Adelaide, Port Adelaide. They're all sort of like the up and down ones.
Yeah.
For our top 8, and now my 8th pick.
Did you even said your ninth? Have you said your ninth?
Yeah, it was Fremantle.
Oh, it was Fremantle. Sorry.
Yeah. My number 8 is Essendon.
Really?
I've got Essendon at 8th. That's my big
call.
My big call this year. I see them coming back to the finals. They do it every year.
Shit.
They drop down. And then come back to the finals, lose their first finals, and drop down again. They've done it like the last 7 seasons.
Shit.
My logic being this year, they had a decent off-season. They did a couple of good trades, and they got a few recruits because they did so low this year.
Yeah.
And obviously, they got Brad Scott coming in.
True.
Tipper Woody back. He's great.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And if they do make the top 8, I'll be happy with that. I do see them losing their first final because it's Essendon, but...
Yeah.
No, Essendon, if they do make top 8, I can go around saying, yeah, I told you so I'll be happy with that.
True.
Who do you have for 8?
I have the Richmond Tigers, actually. I feel like, they're still going to be contenders. I feel like they're a really, really good team, especially, again, getting Taranto and Hopper. Lynch, if he's in top form, Rewalt could still perform. Dusty is a question mark because of, everything that's happened with him. But when the Tigers are on, they're fucking on. So
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dusty's a hard one, isn't it? Because it's unquestionable he's been the best player of the last 5 years.
He's ridiculous. But he's getting older. He's had issues with his dad.
Mental health battles, all that stuff. It does take a toll on players.
Yeah.
But sometimes they come back and they do well. Gary Ablett Sr., he had some mental health battles. He came back and won 3 Commons in a row. So you never know if Martin, he might pull something out of his fucking ass and win the next Brownlow for all we know. It's Martin. Yeah. For 7th on the ladder, I have the Sydney Swans.
Wow.
Yep. Losing a grand final in that fashion, it does something to a team.
True.
It did something to Port Adelaide, did something to the Giant, it did something to your Dogs last year.
True.
Losing a big grand final, it affects the team.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't see them dropping out of the 8 because they still are an incredible team. Yeah. And obviously they just made the grand final. Yes, they sort of edged it into it. Obviously they just got ahead of Sydney. When Sydney versus Melbourne, they really fought for their lives. You watch that game and they're so desperate to win that game.
True.
And obviously against Collingwood, it was a 1-point win. They just edged into that grand final and got stomped by the Cats.
Yeah.
They weren't ready for a grand final yet, and I feel like it'll be a couple more years before they are.
You're right, yeah. I feel like you're on the money there with the Swans. I feel like I've actually placed them a little bit too high, but we'll get there. For my 7th position, I've got the Dogs. I know it's probably, this guy had him at 13. Everyone else is probably going to be doubting my team. It's probably... What were you going to say?
The iconic 7th position for the Dogs.
Exactly. I couldn't really justify kicking them out of the 8 because I am biased, and I feel like our team actually looks pretty fucking good, coming into this year. I'm hoping Bont has a really good year. We just lost Dunkley, but we have a really stacked midfield as it is. We've got the forwards, we've got the defense, we've got pretty much everything we fucking need. It's just, my coach can be pretty silly sometimes with positioning, and so I don't know. I feel like we can hit 7th. I feel like we can't really go higher. I feel like we can obviously drop lower, but I'm still a Dogs fan, so I had to put them in there, unfortunately.
Fair enough too. I agree with all of it.
Yeah.
Western Bulldogs, if they do make top 8, fair enough. They're a great side.
Yeah.
Number 6, Carlton.
Yep. So do I.
You know, got Carlton as well?
Yep.
So the big one, obviously, They are on the rise. They are. Obviously, they got two Colemans, a Brownlow medalist. They've got Sam Walsh as well. Like, they are a fucking good side.
Fuck yeah.
And, frankly, they were just unlucky this year.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they nearly beat Melbourne the second last round. They nearly beat Collingwood the last round.
Yeah.
Good
team. Very good team. I feel like they really have a good chance this year. Yeah, like you said, I've got them at 6th. I feel like they've got a really good chance.
It is Carlton. You never know. But we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Alrighty. For my number 5, I have Richmond.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. Sort of all the same reasons you were listing earlier. Good list. Strong possibilities. If they do make top 4, wouldn't surprise me.
True.
There's not much else that I can say that we haven't covered.
Yeah.
So, what's your 5th?
My 5th is the Melbourne Demons. I feel like, again, they're still very, very good contenders. I was very tempted to put them in my top 4, actually, because of just, it's fucking Melbourne. They beat my team in the grand final in 2021. So, I don't know. They've got such a good team. They've got Petrarca, Oliver, Gawn. Like, those 3 right there are just so fucking good. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's their forward line that kind of is a bit iffy. Their back line's always just ridiculous with like May and Lever. So, I don't know. What about you, man?
I agree. Melbourne's a bit tricky. Like, obviously they were very dominant, and they've probably been the most dominant side of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Obviously Geelong also up there for that contender thing, but Melbourne won first 9 games in a row, 2021, then was the first 10 in 2022.
Yeah.
It was only towards the end of 22 that they finally slipped off the face of it.
The Falcon.
But it doesn't really mean that they're going downhill. It just means they sort of hit a wall.
True.
Because they overextended themselves.
It's hard to be like up here all the fucking time, and when you've just won a premiership and they still want, like you said, they won like what 9-10 games at the start of the year, keeping that going for so fucking long, it's hard to do. And you know, people are starting to figure them out now because they were the best for so long. So yeah, injuries get to you as well. So
true. That is also another thing, another contender thing.
Yeah.
Top 4 now. Same as last year, I've got Collingwood at 4th.
Really?
Yep. Obviously, great list, great team. But last year, it's a bit hard to judge them on their performances because most of them were flukes. Honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, they played some great bloody football.
Yeah.
And even in the finals, like, they nearly beat Geelong and they nearly beat Sydney. Like, they are clearly contenders.
Yeah.
But I don't see them getting higher than 4th place on the ladder.
Yeah.
They don't feel like a top 3 side just yet.
Fair.
But they will be contenders. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
What about you?
I've got the Sydney Swans at 4th. I don't see them dropping as hard as this guy does, even though, you know, they did just lose a grand final by quite a lot. But again, they're still Sydney. They're such a fucking good team. They're so structurally sound. They have a pretty good forward line, good midfield, good back line. Like, it's fucking Sydney, man. Like,
true. That is true.
What can you say? Like, they're so good. Yeah, I still see them being top 4, I think.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
All right, 3rd place, I have Brisbane.
Yeah?
The Brisbane Lions. I've seen a lot of predictions.
Just putting them first?
Yeah, what is with that? Everyone's like got so much faith in Brisbane for like this season, and I don't.
Yeah?
Like, yes, they've got a couple new recruits, but they're still recruits.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Obviously, they've got a lot to learn and won't be complete finals ready just yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've still got Lachie Neale. They've still got a good forward line, a good defense. Their midfield is a bit...
They do have Dunkley now, though, so that could help them out.
That is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, they will be a top 4 team.
Yeah.
But I don't believe they're going to be as good as people are predicting them to be.
True. I think people are overestimating them a little bit, to be honest. In my 3rd place, I do have the Geelong Cats. Even though they just won the premiership, they did lose Selwood. They also lost Eddie Betts as their forward coach, so that could maybe hinder Tyson Stengel a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like now's the time for Geelong to finally start dropping. Again, they were fucking undefeated for like 10, 15, I don't know how many fucking games. They were undefeated for a long time in the 2022 season. So I feel like it's time for Geelong to maybe go down a little bit. Again, third is still top four, and it's still Chris Scott, so they can still pull some magic out of their bum. But yeah, I don't know.
I get where you're coming from. It's a bit hard to describe that, but one thing I noticed about the 2022 season that was different from all the other Selwood captain seasons was a lot of the other players were starting to take real vital captaincy roles. Obviously, Tom Stewart was doing his roles. Dangerfield was doing his more encouragement kind of roles.
True.
Yeah, even Duncan, honestly. They were all sort of like starting to make more captaincy things. And I noticed Joel Selwood was starting to like lean back a little bit.
He did take... Wasn't he like managed quite a bit?
Yeah.
I feel like he didn't play as many games. Same with Dangerfield. He got injured, I feel like, quite a bit. He did perform really well after coming back from those injuries. But again, like...
True.
I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Who would you even pick for their captain? Because they haven't even selected one yet.
Yeah, they really need to get onto that. Personally, I'd pick Mitch Duncan.
Yeah?
I really like him. He feels like a leader.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are saying Tom Stewart.
Yeah.
I do agree. Tom Stewart's a great player, but he doesn't feel like a leader.
Fair.
But, you know, like I said, it was a team effort this year.
Yeah.
I feel like even if we didn't have a captain, the team itself would have still won. Because I felt like more of a team effort, instead of just a captain telling people what to do.
Fair.
And I feel like that's why we kept losing all those prelims during that era, because so much was on Joel Selwood's shoulders.
Fair.
And I think that was Geelong's biggest issue.
Fair.
They were over pushing. Captain Courageous, all that. Like, yes, he was awesome, but you can't rely on one person. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
And this season, last season, was a team effort, and that's why Geelong won.
True.
Number two. I've got Melbourne.
Fair.
Yep. I don't see Melbourne dropping. I feel like they're going to stick around too. Maybe even come first a little later. Melbourne has something to prove after that semi-final loss, and they will come back hard.
Fair.
That's all I've got to say on the matter.
Yeah. I mean, that's completely fair. I've got Brisbane Lions coming in second. Again, I don't see them coming first. I feel like a lot of people are really overestimating them for some reason. Not saying that second is not bad. Like, second's still really good. And again, got Duncan, got Lockie fucking Neal, of course. So I feel like they have a really, really good shot. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I get that. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
My number one pick is the Geelong Cats. And I know what you're thinking. I'm being biased. But no, I'm not actually. They're on a massive winning streak, yes. And that is kind of concerning. But the thing is, last time we smashed a team like that in the grand final, the year after that, the 2008 season, we went like 21 out of 22 games.
True.
Geelong got better during that season. And I'll get to this later on in my finals predictions. And I'll explain a little bit more later on about where my head is with this. But no, I do think Geelong will be top of the ladder, which might not be a good thing. What about you?
True. I've got the Collingwood Magpies as my number one team. They made a fan out of me last year. Very entertaining. I was a Collingwood hater like the rest of us who aren't Collingwood supporters for pretty much, and then I just became a Collingwood fan. Like, they got my team into the finals by beating Carlton. They won so many fucking close games that were just so entertaining to watch. They unfortunately fizzled out in the finals, which I feel like really robbed us of an incredible grand final that we could have seen between Geelong and Collingwood.
That is true.
But their team looks pretty ridiculous. Nick Dacos, it was only his first year last year, and he looked like a fucking superstar. So I can only imagine what he's going to pull out of his ass this year. Craig McRae, first fucking year as a coach, and he was incredible. So yeah, I'm excited to see Collingwood this year, and I feel like they can actually get that minor premiership, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
I hate Collingwood, but well done. Like,
yeah,
their 2022 season was nothing short of incredible.
Fucking Jamie Elliott, man, he was a fucking star. Oh man.
So I'll tell you my final series.
Yeah.
And then you can tell us yours.
When do you think you're doing the medals as well?
We'll do that after the final series.
Okay. Yeah.
So my first qualifier between Geelong and Collingwood, first and fourth. I've got Geelong winning that.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's going to be a fucking close game.
Yeah. Fair.
My first elimination, 5 and 8. Obviously, I've got Richmond beating out Essendon, and I imagine by a lot too. That will be a stomping. 6 and 7. I've actually got Sydney on 7th place beating Carlton. I don't think Carlton will win their first final.
Yep. Fair.
And 2 and 3, the second elimination final, I have Melbourne beating Brisbane. Yes, obviously Brisbane beat Melbourne in the semis this year, but you can't count out the fact that Melbourne won 2 games against them in the season by like over 60 points.
True.
Melbourne do have it over Brisbane. They just flopped in the finals.
Yeah.
And they have something to prove, so Melbourne win that game.
That's fair.
My first semi-final between Collingwood and Richmond, which is 4 and 5. I got Collingwood winning that game, but I imagine it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
It would be a good game.
Would be a good game.
Second semi-final between Brisbane and Sydney, so that's 3 and 7. Brisbane. I have Brisbane beating Sydney, honestly.
So Sydney's gone?
Yeah, Sydney doesn't do well at the Gabba.
Yeah, true.
That's why I reckon Brisbane wins that.
Yeah.
First prelim between Geelong and Brisbane. I'd have to give it to Geelong. Like, that prelim will more than likely be at the MCG, and as last year's proven, Brisbane does not do well at the MCG against Geelong.
True. Yeah.
Second prelim, which is Melbourne and Collingwood, I have Collingwood winning that one.
Fair.
Primarily because Collingwood actually have a really decent winning streak against Melbourne.
Yeah.
Collingwood just have something over Melbourne. So we got a Collingwood-Geelong grand final, and I've picked Collingwood.
Oh, holy shit. No way.
2023 Premiers, I've picked Collingwood because Geelong flops every time. Like, not every time. Actually, no, they do pretty well, but I'm going off 2007, 2008. Geelong did incredible in 2008 after that massive win. But they got to that grand final cocky and they flopped.
Yeah.
And I suspect we're going to do the same thing.
Wow. Okay.
How about your finals?
My finals, I think you're going to be pretty surprised. So 1 and 4, which is Collingwood and Sydney. I have Collingwood winning the qualifying finals there, going into the prelims, sending Sydney down to the semis. For the first elimination, we've got 5 and 8, which is Melbourne and the Richmond Tigers, which I have Richmond actually winning. So I know, a bit shocking. I feel like, it could be a dumb decision, but I do believe that maybe Melbourne's going out. 6 and 7 for my eliminations. I've got, who is it? We've got Carlton and the Dogs. I've got the Dogs winning because...
Is Carlton.
True, and I'm a dog supporter, and it's a bit biased, whatever. And the second qualifier I have 2 and 3, which is Brisbane and the Cats. And again, Cats are going to be advancing there with Brisbane going down to the semis. In my first semi, we've got 4 and 8, which is Sydney versus Richmond. And I do have Richmond beating Sydney. Again, probably going to be a good game. And for the second semi, I've got, 2 and 7? 2 and 7, which is Brisbane and the Dogs. I do have the Dogs beating Brisbane because, again, it's going to be very similar to that ridiculous game at the Gabba with Bailey Smith. You know what I mean. We've got the 2 prelims. The prelims?
Yep.
Which is Collingwood taking on Richmond, which could, again, be an absolute ripper, like he said.
Yep.
But I've got Collingwood winning, going into the grand final. And then we've got the prelim that I feel like would be an incredible watch, which is the Cats versus the Dogs.
Ooh.
I know, I feel like that'd be a very entertaining
good.
game. But again, because the Dogs just can't beat the Cats, I've got the Cats going through to the grand final. So again, we've got pretty similar predictions here.
Cats versus Pies.
Cats versus Pies. And again, like you, I've picked the Pies to actually win the grand final. So
we both actually agree.
Yeah, without looking at each other's list, we picked the exact same winner.
So we have a Magpies versus Geelong grand final.
Oh, that would be so good.
With Magpies coming out on top.
Yeah.
That's painful to me,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's about right.
Ridiculous game. I wish we'd gotten it last year as well.
That would have been good.
That's really cool, though, that we got
that is cool.
the same fucking votes and picks.
Shall we do our Brownlow medals?
Let's do it.
I have Sam Walsh.
Sam Walsh.
Yep.
See, I would love to pick Sam Walsh. I would, but I know for a fact he's going to be injured for the first couple of weeks of the season.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And that just sucks because I feel like the last couple of seasons he's been injured for the first couple of weeks, and that just almost takes him out of contention, unfortunately. So I've got Nick Dacos. Again, ridiculous last year. I feel like he could really pop up for the Brownlow this year.
Fair.
Yeah.
Coleman?
I've got Jeremy Cameron.
So do I.
Yeah, Jeremy Cameron. He's just so fucking good. Geelong, again, they're a powerhouse fucking team.
But there's another thing that made me tip Jeremy Cameron, and that's because Tom Hawkins is injured.
Oh, really? So it'll just be Jeremy Cameron forward line?
Jeremy Cameron and Tyson Stengel. Jeremy Cameron's going to have to put up a real like vital role during the first couple games of the season. And I would expect that Jeremy Cameron will be leading in that Coleman very fast.
Yeah.
Obviously, when Tom Hawkins comes back, his thing will slow down, but he'll still be up there.
For sure. It's Jeremy fucking Cameron.
Yeah. Norm Smith medalist?
Norm Smith. I've got Nick Dacos
So
again.
do I.
Yeah.
I got Nick Dacos for the Norm Smith as well.
Oh, man. We've almost got a same wavelength going on for a few things. And it's just, again, it's Nick Dacos. Incredible performance last year for his fucking first year. What more can you say?
There's not much, honestly. And finally, our rising stars.
I've got Will Ashcroft.
I have Will Ashcroft as well. There's a lot of focus on him, and he will be a key player in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason why people think that Brisbane's going to be top of the ladder.
True.
Because they've got some plans for Will Ashcroft, and apparently he mixes into that team really nicely.
Fuck yeah. Do you think he would be that midfield strength that they kind of need? Because they've been lacking a bit.
Yeah, he will be.
Yeah.
No, expect him to be the rising star for next year.
Yeah.
There are certain other players that could be up there. Some people might say Aaron Cadman for GWS, so the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
I personally think what GWS did to get him was stupid.
True. Yeah. Made some bad decisions, GWS.
Yeah. And since they've been making those bad decisions, I expect that they're going to not use him properly either.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they've got ideas for him, but I suspect that because he's a key forward, he's still going to be undermined by Toby Green.
True.
Like, he's going to be just playing for Toby Green. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah. I agree. And again, he's not a midfielder, so midfielders generally don't do as well.
True.
So,
I think that about covers it.
yeah.
So we got Collingwood as the 2023 premiers this year.
Yep.
We'll come back next year and make another one of these, but
Yeah.
I really hope we're wrong. Honestly, fuck Collingwood.
I think it's pretty cool though that we did get that. But yeah, I feel like if any of you guys have predictions of your own, leave them in the comments. We'd fucking love to see what you guys think what's going to happen because I know everyone's been picking Brisbane to be on the top and
True. There's gonna be a lot of rage about that.
yeah,
Well, please like, subscribe, and go fuck yourself.
fuck yourself.
And fuck Collingwood.